Lysandros, a bit off topic on topic, but any advice for an investigation session?
Ooh, okay, so that
Hmm.
sounds if you're familiar with the game Call of Cthulhu,
Hmm.
which is a TTRPG set in like 1920s Lovecraftian horror.
What's up,
A
Mountain Cat?
typical one shot session has three phases where it goes um socializing, investigation, climax. So the second act of any Call of Cthulhu game is just investigate and find information. There's always something is leading towards what is your mystery to start out is the question. And how can you see that out in a way that players can find that without just hiding it behind a bunch of checks?
Hmm. Yeah, that's the I think the number one point that I like to make about it is that, which is a little bit, it can be a scary thought, but it's actually it's a good thing, and you should just lean into it. Don't put any clues behind any checks at all. Clues actually, sometimes people say like, oh, if you want them to find out a clue, you need to have three things that point to it. Yeah, maybe. The more the better, right? If you're going to make something that's investigation heavy, it's going to be a lot more work than a typical session will be, because you have to sort of, number one, build your story, and then now think about what is the evidence of that story that you can make available, and then just treat it like an Easter egg hunt for 5 year olds. Like, you want more than you're ever going to need, because you don't know what they're going to stumble upon and which ones they're going to start to piece together.
It's going to feel way more obvious on your side than it will on
Sure.
theirs because it's like whenever you make a riddle, it's so
Yep.
hard to make something and know how difficult it will be for someone else to solve
Absolutely.
without just
Absolutely.
playtesting it.
Yep. And the more you have that sort of interconnects to each other, the more options there are for the players to get creative and how they put it together. And the fun of an investigation session should not be finding the clues. It should be what you do with the clues when you have them, piecing them together on your crazy board with the red line, the red string, and stuff like that. That's what's
Yeah.
interesting. And that doesn't mean that checks have no place, but if there are checks to be had, it's going to be them looking for like extra information that probably is stuff that you might not even be able to prep. It's just going to be stuff where they're going like, okay, well, can I stuff that you have to sort of like figure out in the moment, like, oh, okay, maybe they do know more about this, or can get some extra information from this through a check, but just never the essentials that they're going to need to tie everything together. Because then, just to state the why of that, if you hide clues behind checks and they fail the check,
What happens next?
yeah, in an investigation session, you basically hit. I mean, there are a lot of dead ends in D&D, and from a dungeon master's side of the table, there could be a lot of dead ends. This is like the worst dead end you could possibly find yourself in, because then it's
Yeah.
like, oh no, they now I don't know how they can even resolve this. So just solve that problem by taking those checks out of the equation.
If it's something that they have to find in order to be able to progress, it should not be something that's failable. And
Yeah,
in almost every single DMG that you find, or like um, quick start guide or handbook for running a game, they always say you should roll the dice when it's unclear whether success or failure is going to happen.
right.
If failure is not an option in the long run, it shouldn't be behind some dice.
Hmm.
Ultimately, you want your players to feel accomplished and intelligent in an investigation session.
Hmm.
Even if you are laying out all the pieces in order and they just have to click the magnets together to make them stick, they're still going to feel, hi, Bruce.
Yeah,
They're still going
Brucey.
to feel accomplished by being able to do that themselves. It's sometimes players want their characters to be able to just like figure something out, but it is really, really satisfying to be able to put those pieces together, even if
Yep.
they're really obvious in hindsight.
Yeah, totally. And the thing that you can do, the thing that's fun about a game like D&D that's more difficult to do in other mystery mediums, like if it's a mystery book or a movie, or even like mystery based board games, in D&D, your party and your players can be wrong.
Yeah.
And so one really fun thing about building an, I mean, who knows what the investigation, let's say that you're trying to find who killed somebody at the party, right? Like a, you know, a whodunit in a hotel or whatever. Well, there should be a handful of suspects, and the party should be able to basically indict the wrong person, right? Maybe they don't even find out until later. Maybe that now plays into the story in an interesting way. But
Now
you
your
don't want
bad
to
guys gotten away.
yeah, they get away, and then they complete that, and then what do they get? The next day when they're checking out, they get a letter from anonymous so and so that says, thanks, you guys were actually a huge help, right? I never could have gotten away if you hadn't distracted the authorities, blah blah blah. That's actually more interesting than it might be if like, because the death blow, I feel like, to, and this kind of plays off what you're saying, T, with like you want them to feel accomplished. The death blow to an investigation is to have them lay out their amazing explanation and then get stepped on by whatever your game's equivalent of Sherlock Holmes is that's going to set them straight. It's like, no, just let it carry. Uh let them be accidentally wrong, and then
Yeah.
see where that goes, because that's gonna sort of parlay into a much more interesting story, I think.
Consequences are what makes a D&D game interesting, ultimately. If there are no consequences for your choices, then the choices didn't matter. And so if there are no consequences for choosing wrong, then your investigation in that whole like arc was just like a bottle episode. Just like I said with the Marvel movie.
Connor, what's Lex? What do you mean by Lex?
Lex is Connor's wife.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, right. Yes. Now I'm clear. Hi, Lysandros. Hi, Lex. I'll remember that. Free video content.
Eli,
Psh, you guys are always giving me free video content. But don't worry, it'll be 6 months before it's ever on the channel.